Catherine.
Were you a good student growing up?
I was a conscientious student, but I spent half my time in the theatre.
Yeah.
We become the best we can, and we can't jump from the rooftops shouting, about, I have this, look at me.
She danced across movie screens like a goddess. Her beauty could stop traffic. Her voice could make angels weep. Catherine Zeta Jones seemed to have it all. Fame, fortune, and a fairy tale marriage to one of Hollywood's biggest stars. But behind those sparkling eyes and that million-dollar smile was a woman fighting battles that nobody could see. Today, at 55, Catherine's story isn't just about glamour and glory. It's about pain, struggle, and the price of perfection in Hollywood. If you've ever wondered what really happened to the woman who once ruled the silver screen, you need to hear this story. Because sometimes the most beautiful lives hide the deepest scars. Let's start from the very beginning, when Catherine was just a tiny baby fighting for her life. Picture this, a beautiful little girl in Wales, barely able to breathe. Her throat was closing up from a terrible infection. The doctors had to make a quick decision to save her life. They performed an emergency surgery, cutting open her throat so she could breathe again. This left a small scar under her chin that she would carry for the rest of her life. Even as a baby, Catherine was already a fighter. Catherine Mary Jones was born on September 25, 1969, in a small town called Swansea in Wales. Her family wasn't rich or famous. Her dad ran a simple bakery, and her mom sewed clothes to help pay the bills. They lived in a tiny house with narrow streets and worked hard just to get by. But even as a little girl, Catherine was special. She would dance around their living room like it was a grand stage. She would sing songs that made her parents stop what they were doing just to listen. Her parents noticed that their little girl had something magical about her. She wasn't like other kids who just played with toys. Catherine lived and breathed music and dance. When she was only 4 years old, she was already performing at local churches and community centers. People would gasp when they saw this tiny girl command the stage like she was born for it. Then something amazing happened to the Jones family. They bought a lottery ticket, just like millions of people do every week, hoping to get lucky. But this time, luck smiled on them. They won £100,000, which was like winning millions today for a working-class family. Most families would have bought fancy cars or gone on expensive vacations. But Catherine's parents did something different. They used that money to invest in their daughter's dreams. They moved to a better neighborhood and bought their own pastry shop. But, most importantly, they used the money to pay for Catherine's dance lessons, singing classes, and acting training. Her father once said in an interview, "She had fire in her from the start. We just gave it the chance to grow." By the age of 11, Catherine was already starring in big musical productions like Annie on real stages with real audiences. When Catherine turned 13, she got the chance to perform in Bugsy Malone in London's famous West End theatre district. This is where the biggest stars perform, and here was a 13-year-old girl holding her own with professional actors. But success came with a price. While other teenagers were hanging out with friends, going to parties, and worrying about homework, Catherine was rehearsing for hours every day. At 14, something happened that would change her life forever. She auditioned for a touring production of The Pajama Game. The director was Mickey Dolenz from the famous band The Monkees. Catherine didn't just get the part, she stole the show. The production was so successful that the next year, at just 15 years old, she faced the biggest decision of her young life. She was offered a starring role in a major West End production. But there was a catch. She would have to leave school completely to do it. Most parents would have said no. Most 15-year-olds would have been too scared. But Catherine knew this was her moment. She dropped out of school and moved to London to become a full-time actress. There was no backup plan, she said years later. This was my dream, and I had to chase it with everything I had. Living in London as a teenage actress wasn't easy. Catherine had to grow up fast. She was working with adults, dealing with rejection, and handling criticism that would crush most teenagers. She lived in tiny apartments, ate cheap food, and sent most of her money back home to help her family. But she never complained because she was living her dream. After conquering the London theater scene, Catherine decided it was time to try movies. In 1990, she got her first film role in a French movie called 101 Nights. She thought this was her big break, her chance to become a movie star. She imagined red carpets, magazine covers, and worldwide fame. Instead, the movie was a complete disaster. The film was so bad that it sold less than 1,000 tickets in all of France. It made almost no money and got terrible reviews. Catherine went from dreaming of stardom to wondering if she had made a huge mistake. Many actors would have given up right there. But Catherine had been fighting since she was a baby, and she wasn't about to stop now. She went back to England and got a role in a TV series called The Darling Buds of May. This show made her famous throughout Britain. People loved her charm, her beauty, and her acting skills. She was finally getting the recognition she deserved, but she still had her eyes on a bigger prize: Hollywood. In the early 1990s, Catherine packed her bags and moved to America. She thought her British success would open doors in Hollywood. She was wrong. In America, she was just another pretty face trying to make it in movies. She took any role she could get, even in movies that weren't very good. Films like The Phantom and Christopher Columbus: The Discovery didn't exactly set the world on fire. Catherine started to doubt herself for the first time in her life. She had always believed that if she worked hard enough, success would follow. But in Hollywood, hard work didn't seem to be enough. She went to audition after audition, only to be told she wasn't quite right for the part. I started to think maybe I didn't have what it takes, she admitted years later. Then, like something out of a movie, Steven Spielberg saw something in Catherine that others had missed. The legendary director remembered her from her small roles and thought she had star quality. That one moment of recognition changed everything. Suddenly, casting directors who had ignored her were calling her agent. In 1998, Catherine got the role that would make her a superstar, Elena in The Mask of Zorro opposite Antonio Banderas. But getting the role was just the beginning. She had to train like a warrior for months. She learned sword fighting, horseback riding, and flamenco dancing. She got bruises, cuts, and sore muscles every single day. But she refused to use stunt doubles for her action scenes. Every sword fight, every horse ride, every dance move you see on screen is really Catherine. When The Mask of Zorro hit theaters, it was like lightning in a bottle. The movie made over $250 million worldwide. Catherine wasn't just an actress anymore. She was a bona fide movie star. Her face was on magazine covers around the world. Talk show hosts wanted to interview her. Everyone wanted to know about the beautiful Welsh actress who had conquered Hollywood. But Catherine didn't let success go to her head. She kept working hard and chose her next roles carefully. In 1989, she starred in Entrapment with Sean Connery. There's one scene in that movie where Catherine dances through laser beams that became instantly famous. Every man in the world fell in love with her elegance and grace. Then came 2002, the year that would define Catherine's career forever. She was cast as Velma Kelly in the movie version of Chicago. This wasn't just any role. This was a chance to show the world that she could sing, dance, and act all at the same time. And she did all of this while she was pregnant with her daughter. Chicago wasn't just a hit, it was a phenomenon. The movie won the Academy Award for Best Picture, and Catherine won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actress. When she walked up to accept her award, she was glowing with pregnancy and holding her golden statue. She had reached the absolute peak of Hollywood success. But while Catherine's career was soaring, her personal life was about to become much more complicated. At a film festival in France in '98, she met Michael Douglas. He was already a huge star, 25 years older than Catherine, and from a completely different world. When he first met her, he said something that shocked her. "You're going to be the mother of my children." Catherine thought he was arrogant and walked away. But Michael didn't give up. He sent her flowers and handwritten apologies. They started talking on the phone for hours every night. Tite. Despite the age difference, despite coming from different worlds, they fell deeply in love. On New Year's Eve, 1999, Michael proposed to Catherine with a beautiful diamond ring. Even though they both had the flu and were wrapped in blankets, she said yes immediately. Their wedding in 2000 was like something from a fairy tale. They spent $1.5 million on the ceremony at the Plaza Hotel in New York. Their baby son, Dylan, was there, just 3 months old. For a while, it seemed like Catherine had everything: a successful career, a loving husband, and beautiful children. In 2003, she gave birth to their daughter, Karis. The family moved to Bermuda to escape the paparazzi and give their children a normal childhood. Catherine took a break from acting to focus on being a mother. But behind the perfect family photos, Catherine was struggling with something she couldn't talk about. She started having severe mood swings. Some days she felt on top of the world, and other days she couldn't get out of bed. She felt exhausted all the time, even when she got plenty of sleep. She began to feel like she was living someone else's life. For years, Catherine suffered in silence. She put on a brave face for the cameras, smiled at premieres, and acted like everything was perfect. But inside, she was falling apart. She later said, "I had to smile at movie premieres while I was dying inside." The pressure of being perfect all the time was crushing her spirit. In 2009, Catherine's world got even more complicated. Michael's son from his first marriage was arrested and sent to prison for drug charges. The media had a field day with the story, and Catherine had to watch her husband suffer while protecting her own children from the headlines. Then in 2010, Michael was diagnosed with throat cancer. Catherine's husband, the man who had always been strong and confident, was suddenly fighting for his life. She spent countless hours in hospital rooms, holding his hand during chemotherapy treatments, watching him get weaker and weaker. But the cancer diagnosis brought another problem. During an interview, Michael suggested that his cancer might have been caused by HPV, a sexually transmitted virus. The media twisted his words and created a scandal that hurt Catherine deeply. She felt like her private life was being torn apart for public entertainment. The stress of everything, Michael's illness, the media attention, and her own mental health struggles, finally became too much. In 2011, Catherine made a brave decision. She checked herself into a mental health facility for treatment. When the news got out, she could have hidden and been ashamed. Instead, she spoke openly about her battle with bipolar disorder. "This is a condition that affects millions of people," she told the world. "I'm not ashamed of it." With those words, Catherine broke decades of silence about mental health in Hollywood. Suddenly, other celebrities felt safe to talk about their own struggles. She didn't just get help for herself, she helped countless others by showing them it was okay to not be okay. But even after getting treatment, Catherine's troubles weren't over. The stress of everything had taken a toll on her marriage. In 2013, she and Michael announced they were separating. The tabloids went crazy with rumors about affairs and fights. But the truth was simpler and sadder. They were both exhausted and needed space to heal. For 8 months, Catherine and Michael lived apart. She spent sleepless nights wondering if she had lost not just her husband, but her best friend. She questioned every decision she had made. At 4 she felt lead. She was starting over from nothing. But love has a way of finding its way back. After 8 months of soul-searching, Catherine and Michael decided to try again. They didn't make a big announcement or call a press conference. They simply chose to love each other again, quietly and privately. As Catherine said, "You don't stop loving someone just because you're hurting." Their reconciliation wasn't instant or easy. They had to rebuild trust, learn to communicate better, and work on their individual problems. But they were committed to making their marriage work. They went to counseling, spent quality time together, and remembered why they fell in love in the first place. In recent years, Catherine has found a new kind of peace. She's learned to manage her bipolar disorder with medication, therapy, and a healthy lifestyle. She's become an advocate for mental health awareness, speaking openly about her experiences to help others. At 55, Catherine is still beautiful, still talented, and still fighting. She continues to act occasionally, like her recent role as Morticia Addams in the Netflix series Wednesday. But she's no longer chasing fame or trying to prove herself to anyone. She's focused on her family, her health, and her happiness. Catherine has also built a successful business empire. Her lifestyle brand includes everything from home decor to cosmetics. She's worth an estimated $150 million, but she measures her success differently now. "A beautiful home is only beautiful if it holds peace," she once said. Her marriage to Michael has survived cancer, mental illness, separations, and scandals. They have learned to give each other space while staying connected. They have homes in different places but still call each other home. Their children, Dylan and Karis, are now adults finding their own paths in life. Catherine still battles bipolar disorder every day. She's honest about the fact that some mornings it's still hard to get out of bed. But she's learned that healing isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up and trying again each day. She follows a strict wellness routine that includes yoga, meditation, and a healthy diet. She takes care of her mental health the same way she would take care of any other medical condition. Looking back on her life, Catherine's story isn't just about fame and fortune. It's about resilience, courage, and the power of speaking your truth. She went from a sick baby fighting for breath to a young girl chasing impossible dreams, to a woman who conquered Hollywood and survived its darkest moments. Today, Catherine Zeta-Jones stands as proof that you can face your demons and still shine. She's shown the world that mental illness doesn't define you, that marriages can survive the worst storms, and that sometimes the strongest people are the ones brave enough to ask for help. Her legacy isn't just the movies she's made or the awards she's won. It's the lives she's touched by being honest about her struggles. She's given hope to millions of people who battle depression, anxiety, and other mental health challenges. She's shown that it's possible to be successful and still struggle, to be beautiful and still hurt, to be strong and still need help. Catherine's journey reminds us that behind every glamorous life, there might be someone fighting battles we can't see. It teaches us to be kind to others because we never know what they're going through. Most importantly, it shows us that no matter how dark things get, there's always hope for a better tomorrow. The little girl from Wales who almost died as a baby grew up to inspire millions of people around the world. She didn't just survive her tragedies, she transformed them into strength, and that might be the most beautiful performance of her entire career. If Catherine Zeta-Jones's incredible story of triumph over tragedy has moved you, please hit that like button to show your support. Share this video with anyone who needs to hear that they're not alone in their struggles. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories about the real lives behind the Hollywood glamour. Because everyone has a story worth telling, and everyone deserves to know they're not alone. Thank you for watching, and remember, sometimes the strongest people are the ones brave enough to show their scars.